you did your rhetorical analysis paper, you're supposed to think about target audience a bit, right? Who did the author develop the op-ed for, right? And so here's the thing, you have to think about target audience a bit too. You can't just write something that's designed for everyone. You want to think about who are you trying to target with this, and what kinds of things are they expecting to see. So I would submit to you that whenever somebody sits down to read any op-ed, including yours, they've already got their opinions about things, right? Most readers have a rough idea of what solitary is, and they have certain feelings about it, right? And when we think about those feelings, right, we could categorize them this way, right? We could say they either strongly disagree with you at the outset, somewhat disagree, they're completely neutral, which usually means they're just not very informed about it, which is fine. They may somewhat agree with you or strongly agree with you. So this is kind of a Likert scale that I'm using here, right? But the idea is that you've got your opinion about solitary, and I think just about everybody almost has a finished thesis at this point, which is great. And of course, that's where you stand. And so then what I'm saying is, again, before your reader even starts to read your op-ed, we're not talking about me, right? We're talking about just popular readers that could read it. So before they even read it, they have their opinion. Some of them strongly disagree with you, some of them strongly agree, and there's everything in between. And so what I want to know from you is, if you can only target one of these groups, which group are you aiming for? Take a few seconds and think about that. If you can only target one of these 5 groups with your writing, tell me which group you would want to target. Keep in mind, the goal of an op-ed is not to rant or to vent. It is to convince as many people as possible. Okay, you had a few seconds to think about it. So here's the thing. Let's go through this. People who strongly agree, you do not want to target them. Why not? You've already got them. They already agree with you, right? As long as you can spell your name properly on the op-ed, they're still going to agree with you at the end of it, right? So these people, why target it to them? And here's the thing. In a minute, when we get into these sample statements, I hope you'll agree with me when you'll see that you can't target all these people at once. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Strongly disagree. No. Why? Because you're probably not going to get them. Their minds are made up. They don't just disagree with you. They strongly disagree with you. The odds of convincing them of things, even if you've got a highly persuasive argument, those odds are not good. People that are occupy the ends of the continuum like this, oftentimes they are less rational. They're more emotional. They're very hard to talk to about things and convince of things. Sometimes they think they kind of know everything. I'm sure you may know people in your personal life like this. I do. They're kind of annoying, right? These people, these are the ones that are interesting, right? They're the ones that want to have a discussion, right? And look, you've already got them. They agree, right? So again, as long as you're attentive to, providing some sufficient reasons to support your thesis, if you explain them in a way that's compelling, you show how they support your thesis, they'll still agree. So who do you target? Either one of these is the correct answer, right? I think you aim for this spot right here, right? Because so what does that mean if you're aiming for this? What does writing for those groups look like? Let's quickly talk about what it doesn't look like, right? This statement here, okay, this is someone who seems to, and these are not from students, right? I just made these up. I think a lot of people know intuitively that statements like this can turn off readers, right? But this statement, you could imagine someone who opposes solitary, they feel very passionately about it, and then they make a sweeping statement like this. It is designed, even if the student didn't mean it to, right? It is designed just for these people, right? And for someone who is over here in the spot we're supposed to be looking at, they read this, and the minute they see that statement, they stop reading. they see this person as biased, unfair, not understanding the other position. All right, because there are valid positions on both sides of this. You already know where this is going. This is the same problem. It's not persuasive writing, it's ranting, right? It's preaching to the choir, it's shouting to people who already agree with you. Not um, not persuasive in the context of an op-ed. Same thing with statements like this. If you say something, if you write about it in a way like it's so obvious and anybody who disagrees with me is an idiot, it's insulting to some of these people that you're trying to convince, and it's also insulting to the people who are a bit uninformed, right? So how do we target them? Well, for the neutral audience, we need some info and explanation. All right, you're providing some information about solitary in the introduction. And when you introduce your reasons, I've encouraged you to provide some explanation of them. The quote will never do all the work for you if you've chosen to use a reason that involves a quote from Obama or Roe, because you need at least one of those. Right? But you need to explain things and understand that they may not know as much about this topic as you do. Of course, once you've explained the point, like I wrote back to some students on the discussion board, you want to show why that point supports your thesis so that, again, they're neutral. They kind of want to be led to the conclusion that agrees with you, right? For the folks who somewhat disagree, you want to show that you're aware of the other side. Right. Some people are already doing this in their thesis statement. Some people have a thesis statement that's very nuanced, right, where they acknowledge the need for solitary, but they want to see less of it. I'm not saying you can't call for a ban on solitary. You can, right? But you do, again, you don't want to make the other side out to be villains here. It's a complex discussion. That's part of the reason I chose it for our class. I've had good luck with it in the past as well. I think that's all I've got.